Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for choosing to spend your afternoon here with us. For those who don't know, I'm Patricia Ogunfaber, and I do a podcast show to help people maximise property values. It's called Maximising Property Values, and it's on all your popular podcast platforms. So you can find it on Apple, Spotify, Google, Audible, all of them. That, however, normally is a monologue, but I've now added a guest series, a Clubhouse guest series. And somebody actually contacted me a little while ago and said, "Why are you still saying it's new?" And I, I was a bit taken aback because I thought it is actually still new. My first guest was Mark Lloyd, and I kind of like saw him pop in earlier. Don't know if he's still there. Mark, he is still there. So he was my very, very first guest on the 17th of November. So to me, it's still new. You know, the podcast show itself has been going for over a year, nearly 2 years now. So yeah, the guest series is new, is new. Anyway, you are our first guest for 2022. And we are going to be a bit nosy and look into Julia's life.
Mhm.
So, who is Julia? Julia, I'm going to let you tell us who you are, but just in a moment, so first and formally, I'd like to welcome you to Maximising Property Values. And before you tell us who you are and we go into your property activities, please tell us two things I'm going to ask you, and I do swap these around a little bit.
Oh no.
Um, and I never tell anyone what I'm going to ask them. So your two questions are these. So number one, what has been your greatest challenge to date?
Oh God.
And number two, what is the thing that you are most proud of about yourself? And there's a little bit of a twist to this. Neither of your answers can be property related. So,
Okay. Okay. So so you want me to answer those questions first,
oh yes,
Patricia?
please, and then do an
Yeah.
intro. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So the first question was, just remind me, is
Your
what
greatest
is
challenge to date.
yeah, okay. So my greatest challenge actually was just a little example there, is that I'm dyslexic. And it's been something that I have had to deal with all my life, right from being a young adult being a youngster. I was lucky because I was diagnosed when I was at school in the 70s, which is quite unusual. Um, but it has always plagued me. It's always been something I've had to deal with. Um, and I still deal with today. And in fact, as I just said to you, that I have a short-term memory issue. So when you tell me a question, I'm not always going to remember it very easily. So that's my biggest issue. Um, and I've found lots and lots of ways to overcome it, but it still plagues me because I still have an issue feeling that other people are far, far more intelligent than I am, even though it's not to do with intelligence.
Oh my gosh. Do you know,
Mm,
Julia, if you didn't tell people
mm,
that you had dyslexia and you've
mm,
been, kind of like battling it throughout
mm.
your life, I don't think anyone would actually realize. So you have succeeded in
Oh,
battling dyslexia. Honestly, I would never have known. And when you talk about short-term memory, oh, I'm forever saying to my boys and my husband, "Oh, please remind me about this and please remind me about that." And then my husband says, "Well, I'm older than you. Why do you think that my memory is going to be better than
mhm.
yours?"
Well, it obviously doesn't help that I'm of an age where I've got a bit of a cloudy mind now as
Okay,
well.
eh,
So that doesn't particularly help
right.
either,
I
Patricia.
I think you're just telling me why my memory is so bad.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely,
but do you know what?
absolutely.
It most of us kind of like don't remember everything. So yeah, please do not, honestly, do not still think that you are disadvantaged. Because I'm telling you from the surface, it's not apparent. And I am
Oh,
so glad to have you on here. And you are actually my second guest who kind of like slightly identifies themselves with dyslexia. And
mm.
honestly, you are killing it. So, you know, right. Okay, so the second question was the thing that you are most proud of about yourself. Again, not to do with property.
Well, I suppose it's linked in the fact that I have battled through with dyslexia and not allowed it to define me. So I am proud that though the written word has always been difficult for me, I've not allowed that to I haven't allowed it to stop me. It's stunted me, but I've never allowed it to actually stop me. And I'm proud that I've been able to stand up. I can speak about it, because for a long time it wasn't something I particularly enjoyed talking to people about. But um, and if we really got into it, there are lots of things that do still affect me, or in my head. Actually, when I say affect me in my mind, because that's all what it's to do with, is to do with the way you see yourself, perceive yourself, your self-esteem, all that side of things that I have been able to conquer. So I think that is definitely probably my biggest achievement, is to probably turn the way I perceive myself, um, it's completely around, really, from when I was younger, feeling very, very um, disadvantaged, or I had very low self-esteem.
Wow. Do you know? Well, and I just said it, didn't I? If anyone kind of like just met you now, they would never, ever, ever know that you have dyslexia. So
Mm.
I'm so glad to have you on here. Now, please tell us who you are in property and what you do.
Thank you. So I came to property later in my career. I had a very, very entrepreneurial background, doing lots of different things, working in lots of different areas, from the fitness industry to charity fundraising, and rolling on sort of towards 7 years ago now. I was at a bit of a crossroads, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. However, felt like I still wasn't complete. I enjoyed working, so I started to look at other opportunities, because I set businesses up previously, and then sold those businesses on. And I really enjoyed the entrepreneurial journey. So I started looking for something else that was going to really inspire me, because I really love to have that sort of fire in my belly and that excitement about what I do. So I looked at all sorts of different things. All sorts of people approached me to take on franchises, and to do all sorts of things, from selling products to, oh gosh, oh, well, I just can't tell you how many different sort of things I did look into, but nothing grabbed me at all. It was, and I was waiting for that feeling of, yeah, this is really what I want to do. Until one day I was reading some articles in the paper, and funnily enough, a lady that I had known. Um, well, probably about 20 years ago now, there was an article about her and two other women. So I particularly was interested in reading it, because obviously I knew this particular lady. And there was a lady on there, or the article was about a lady called Belinda Gresham, who was a property entrepreneur. So I was reading about her, and it sounded really interesting, and I didn't think too much about it. And then I was thinking about what to do, and I thought, oh, maybe I should Google that lady. I should just Google her and see what she's all about, because property was always something that I was interested in, but I never actually thought that I could get involved with it. Again, because I just didn't understand it. I thought you needed a hell of a lot of money, and it wasn't something that I particularly at that point in my life thought that I could do. Anyway, I found that she was doing some mentoring, and I thought, oh, that sounds quite interesting. So I got in contact with them, and as soon as I spoke to this person, spoke to her, I knew this is the person I needed to work with. This is what I wanted to do. And it just clicked. And I spent a year with her doing working quite closely with her, doing training all through the different strategies. And it just completely blew my mind. I found it so interesting, exciting, because as an adult, I really enjoy learning. As a child, it was difficult, but now as an adult, I thoroughly enjoy the learning process. And I just hit it off with Belinda. We got on really well, and we still work together now. So after all these years, we still are very connected, and we still do and work together. So that's how I actually started to get into the industry. But I also work with another chap called Dan Patrick, and he was really had a fantastic mindset. And again, that's what I really liked about both him and Belinda, is it wasn't just about property, it was about your mindset as well. Because as we've all learned, and lots of us who work in property know, that this industry is not easy, and you've got to have real strength of character to be able to ride the roller coaster ride, which it really is. And what he instilled into me was that it's really, really not about the numbers or how many noughts are on the end of something. You still need to do the same amount of work as you do for probably a little buy to let, to do all the DD on that as you do on on a larger opportunity. So I found myself being drawn towards the larger opportunities where sort of commercial property does sit. Um, and that's how I really got very involved on the commercial side, because I could see, the amount of work that has to go into everything. And he just really gave me the confidence to work in that area and just see them as numbers and not be scared of that. So that's how I ended up sort of working and getting very involved in the commercial side of things, where there's so much more creativity, really. I think on the commercial side, um, which I really, really enjoy. And in the residential side, it's an incredibly busy space, isn't it? And I found that everything I looked at there, there was another 50 other people looking at the same thing, but it wasn't quite the same in the commercial sector. So that's how I ended up really working on the commercial side, and I've learned ever such a lot, but still learning every day. I think that's what I love about property, Patricia, is you never ever stop learning. You just never stop learning. There's always something that you don't know about, um, that comes up, that you think, oh, I've never heard of that before, or I haven't done that before. And I really enjoy that, how we just continue to progress and learn as we go along within the industry, which I know you've done as well.
Oh, do you know, the learning side of it is just so exciting, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, I
it's just
really
like,
do.
sometimes I feel like a kid in a toy shop. I'm thinking, ooh, that's really exciting. Or I find a new like product line and I'm thinking, oh, absolutely amazing. What can I do with this? And it's 2 years ago, I booked myself onto an interior design course. Well, maybe it was 3 years ago, maybe it was 4 years ago, I can't remember. Anyway, because I just thought I need to learn more. I want to know more. I want to be able to do what I'm doing so much better, so professionally. Oh, do you know, Julia, we are on the same. There's another lady, every time she says something, I think, snap, snap. And I feel that with you as well. Louise Reynolds. Can I
Yes,
just
yes,
say?
absolutely. You know, I love Louise, love talking with Louise. Though we're quite different people, but we've got, you know, very much the same sort of outlook. And again, you know, I enjoy working with other people. You know, I like the fact that you know, it's an industry where it's very open for those that have got a lot of experience, those that are coming in. You know, I learn from people that have walked the boards before me, and I enjoy helping those that are coming up behind me. So, you know, I quite enjoy that whole part of the industry, really, and it's and supportive. You know, I do think there's a lot of support out there. You know, in fact, I noticed that I got a happy birthday from Clubhouse yesterday, because I've been obviously now on Clubhouse for the last year, as you have, Patricia. But it's been a real phenomena, hasn't it, of great platform for learning, and developing, and meeting so many more people within the industry, um,
Oh,
which is been amazing.
because you and I actually, I think we met on Clubhouse, didn't
Yeah, we
we?
did. We did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just been
yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm coming up to my 1 year on 8th of January I
Mm,
joined. And
mm.
I remember signing up. It was late at night on a Friday. So the 8th was on a Friday. And then on the Saturday I thought, let me just go in there and have a look around. And that was roundabouts like noon. And I did not leave Clubhouse, I don't think, for 20 hours. That
That's amazing. That is amazing.
I dropped in and I was fascinated by it. I was
Mm,
like going from property to Bitcoin to NFTs,
mm.
I, like a kid in a candy shop.
Yeah, agreed. But then you know, I love to chat, and like you say, you know, I love to learn. So, you know, there has been some amazing people with so much knowledge to share, and where, you know, people can pay a lot of money for that kind of knowledge, and expertise, and people have come on openly and shared that knowledge, and expertise, and that's amazing. I think that's been really amazing, and I've really enjoyed that.
Do you know one of so I've been wanting to do a guest series for quite a while. Now, anyone who knows me at all knows that I'm quite honest about things. And
Mm,
sometimes people will say to me, why would you even say that? And I'm thinking, well, why wouldn't I say that if that's
mhm,
the truth? Anyway,
mm,
I couldn't do the guest series because I didn't know how to do it in terms of using that technology and stuff. And I
mhm.
just thought, I cannot be asked because anything that I don't really enjoy doing, I don't want to do. Anyway,
No.
Clubhouse then came up with the replays, and I thought, boom, because my mind works like that. I can solve problems, but in terms of technology, I need help. And I
Yeah.
just thought, if it's going to be a hassle, if it's going to be like I'm taking on work, then I don't want to do it. I'll just
Mm,
carry on doing my monologue. But no, I'm just loving doing the guest series because there are so many people out there who have so much to share
mm,
that other people just don't know about. They don't
mm,
know about them. And apart from the big names, because we all know the big names, and
mm,
yeah, I've had some of them on my on the guest series already. There are smaller names who just have as much to offer, and that is what I find fascinating and so
mm.
pleasurable about being able to do this. And you guys are just making my dream come true. So
Oh.
thank you so much. Right. So for people in the room, today is about Julia Hart. Now, if you click on the link above our heads, that is Julia's company, Sightline Properties. Please follow Julia. Please, go and follow her on Instagram, and you can learn a lot from Julia. Everyone that I've invited onto, this guest series has something to offer, has an extra something that they can do to help you. If you're just starting out your journey, they can help you along with your journey. So, Julia, you are my first commercial person. Tell
Mm.
us about commercial. So, there's all this rave about commercial to resi, and what I like about you, you see, I'm like I said, for me, if I don't enjoy doing something, I'm not going to do it. So, and I'm not bothered in the main about what people think about me. I don't go with the herd. I tend to kind of like, want to stay in my own lane.
Mm.
And I'm happy being in my own lane. And I just think, if there's anybody like me who is in the audience or who might be listening to this, on the podcast or in the replays, and they want something a bit more personal, you would be a godsend to them because you offer mentoring, you offer training, you handhold people all the way through their transactions, which is what personally I think mentoring should be, and which is what I try and offer my mentees as well, which is, do you know what? Let's do it together. It's
Yeah.
a bit of a partnership thing. Let us do, and whilst we're doing it, they are learning as well. And
Mm.
there's nothing more, I don't think, satisfying than having a mentee say something that they wouldn't have said when you actually started out with them.
Mm.
So, in that respect, tell us what you do, Julia, please. Share with us so that people can come to you. So, Julia, I am talking to Julia Hart. Her website is sightlineproperties.com. So, if you're listening to the podcast, you can literally go to www.sightline line
Mm-hmm.
properties.com, and you will be able to get to her site. So over to you, Julia.
So what we do two slightly different things. So as you know, we specialise in commercial property, and we work closely with developers and investors who are looking for generally income generating opportunities. So what that means is, so slightly differently to your commercial that goes into residential, what we're looking for is, for example, some high street stores which have got good, what we call good, strong covenants in. So right now, that's not retail, as we all know, um, and potentially above those retail outlets, you could potentially refurb or develop the upper parts, or develop out the back, or put some kind of development on that site. The other side of it is also to do with the leasing, because when you're working in commercial, the longer the lease, the more value that lease has to that property. So it increases the value of that property. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to take on an opportunity. It's got income coming in. Potentially we can increase the lease, which increases the value. And we can do some refurbishment work or development work, which we could then potentially split the titles on, sell those off, or keep those parts. So we find those types of opportunities for other developers, and our investors that we have. And we also work very closely with them to help build those opportunities out. So we've got a team that we work with, a project management team and a building team. That's not my expertise at all. I'm the person that finds the potential opportunities, but we have other people that we work closely with. And what we then came to realise is there's lots of people that want to work in the commercial sector, but they're not quite sure. That they maybe go and do a course, or they've done a weekend property course, but they're not quite sure or confident how to take action. So we realised that obviously if we have got opportunities that are on the go, we've got some building work, we can actually invite people to come along and have a look at that, or we can work alongside somebody who hasn't done it before, and we can bring the expertise to them and go through the opportunity, through the development with them using our experts. So that's how it came about, that we were happy to help and support other people, because there's two sides of it. You've got people that are very experienced but don't have the time to do the work, so we can do that for them. We've got people that just want us to find opportunities for them, so that's another string to our bow. And then we've got people that lack the experience but need the expertise, so but have the finance and so on and so forth. So there's sort of three different areas that we work in. And it's a real growing area. And like you, Patricia, I sort of have my own lane. I don't really follow the herd, to be totally honest. Often I find that if there's lots of people doing the same thing, I'll probably go in the opposite direction and try and find something completely different to do. I'm a bit weird like that, but I think I am a bit weird anyway, to be able to do what I do. But there is so much that can be done in the commercial sector. You've obviously got land that you can build on, so you can do some new builds. So we look for those potential opportunities. We look for planning gains, so you can put planning on an opportunity and then just sell that on. We look to use all sorts of different strategies, from purchase lease options to options, delayed completions, all sorts of different ways of actually securing opportunities that we have up our sleeve. And everybody wants to do things in a slightly different way. And again, coming back to Belinda, who was my mentor, she instilled into me that whatever two people want to do in property, they can do, as long as there's a legal agreement. So it doesn't. If you think it's a bit obscure, that's fine. You've just got to propose it, and if the other person understands it, gets it, feels that it's right for them, then it can be done. And I particularly enjoy that side of things, is finding ways, being solution driven. Like you, Patricia, I love to find solutions, and within this industry, you've got to have that mindset of, okay, I come up against a problem, but what's the solution? Let's not worry about the problem. Let's just find a solution. And I think that's really key to me as an individual and the way that I work.
Do you know, absolutely, spot on, Julia. Where there's a will, there's always a
Mm.
way. There's always a way. And, I kind of like love what you've just said, because what I tend to do, not about me, but, just for some context, I started out my legal career in tax. And when you work in tax, what you do essentially is you look at the laws and you look for the kind of like the loopholes around it. It doesn't matter who you're working for. I've worked for both the government and I've worked in the private sector. And when you work for the government, you look for those loopholes and then you advise the Treasury on how to block them. When you work for the private sector, you look for the loopholes and then you tell your clients how they can use them lawfully and legally, and you make some money from that. And so it's all about, looking at a problem or looking at a situation and seeing how you can break it down to your advantage, to your best, and how you can do it. Um, so, Julia, I've got terrible, terrible internet where I am, and I just saw the red bar, but it's gone again. Um, so, Julia, can you just walk us through, like a typically, or maybe like your last project, or a hypothetical project, in terms of the costs and the challenges that you people might face. And the one thing actually that I do want to ask you is this. So you take on the build, for people who might not be confident enough to do it themselves. And also by you taking on the build with your team, you are actually enabling that person to get finance. Because if they've got no experience, they're
Mm-hmm.
not really going to be able to secure development finance. Well, not at good rates anyway. But by you kind of like stepping in and saying we will do this, you know, any development financer would be happy, I think, and they'd be reassured that the build would be done properly. So you're also adding, another service, and giving them something that they wouldn't otherwise have. But in terms of the build, we all know about costs. We all know what's been happening. And I've just bought something from Europe. I'm not sure that I'm going to be buying from there again. The hassle of getting it, oh my goodness. Things that we've taken for granted, Brexit, um, goods just coming in from the EU, and they'd say to us, you'll get them in 3 days' time, and you'll get them. Now I keep getting messages being delayed, being in a warehouse, this and this and that, customs this, and I'm thinking, do I want this hassle? And right now I'm thinking no, but never say never.
Mm.
But how are you finding, the price increases, not just on materials, but on labour as well? And how are you able to manage that in terms of people that you might be building for or offering that service to?
Yeah, it is a tricky one, but I'll come back to your original question, which was helping people with their finances and so on. I mean, basically, the way what we can do is bring a team to somebody, bring the team of expertise to enable that person to be able to go and raise that finance. Absolutely, because you've got to have, haven't you? So you've got to have that expert team. So yes, that's something we do. And so moving on to the difficulties that we've all faced over the last 12 months, it's been very, very difficult. And I think what we've tried to do, and I think there's two sides to this. So I mean, obviously, traditionally, all our numbers, we would always put 10% contingencies in, and so on and so forth. However, what we did start to do sort of in the middle of last year was start to increase that to 15 to 20% contingency, because obviously it was coming through, obviously the huge increase for supplies. So we had to make sure that everything that we were doing was covered, and we were putting enough padding in, and we weren't just putting padding in the contingency. We were, overinflating other costs as well to make sure. So we always work on worst case scenario. We always look at three different scenarios: worst, middle, and best case. But we also found that we were almost going too far in the other direction. So, for example, we had an opportunity that we were showing to one of our clients, and it actually fitted his criteria absolutely perfectly. But it was coming up because we'd really baked in a lot of contingency. It was coming up at about 22% GDV. And we felt quite comfortable with that because we'd still baked in so much. So our best case scenario was looking absolutely fantastic, though we were working on the worst case. But what that actually ended up doing was almost scaring that particular investor off, because they started to come back to us saying, we want to see a minimum of 25%. Now, we knew that that 25% was in there, but we baked in so much. But of course, psychologically, what we'd presented to them, we couldn't then start to strip back, because of course they'd already got in their mind that this was sitting at 22%. So therefore we realized that actually we'd just put too much in. We'd been overly cautious. And we had to then have a bit of a meeting about, right, well, have we made the right decision here by putting so much in? And we did come to the conclusion that we had overbaked it, and that we shouldn't have put quite as much in there. But we are quite cautious, so we were being overly cautious. But of course, when you're working with other people who are cautious, they are then adding on top of that. So that was a bit of a learning curve. So we have sort of readjusted that a little bit now, and we're feeling a bit more comfortable about where we are sitting with things, and feeling that we are putting enough contingency in there. It does make it difficult to get opportunities to stack, but of course we want to make sure that things are looking very prosperous, and that we've got enough wriggle room. Otherwise, I just don't feel comfortable. How could you work with somebody or sell something onto something if you wouldn't do that yourself? You just couldn't do that, could you, Patricia? You've got to feel confident and comfortable that you could do this opportunity yourself, and feel totally comfortable about it.
Do you know, Julia, you are absolutely right. And one of the problems that I actually have, because I do exactly that, but on the resi side, is I just love the stuff that I'm getting. I love it so much, to the point where at the moment I don't know if they're all going to kind of like, go all the way through to completion. But I've got 4 things that I'm buying right now
Mm,
because the deals were just so good. And
mm,
I'm just thinking, and my husband said to me, aren't you being a bit greedy? I do have people who say to me, I'm interested in this and I'm interested in that. And listen, but I'm also thinking, well, actually, I love this so much, I can't sell it on.
mm,
And also, another reason actually was I was waiting for my HMRC AML registration. And that has come through now, and I'm putting a bit on my website for deals,
mm,
so they will be there. But like you say, it's integrity, isn't it?
definitely.
If you can't, and I remember my father saying to me, obviously I'm old school, but he clearly was older school. My name is worth more to me than money.
Yes.
And he instilled that in me,
Mm,
and I therefore work on that premise as well,
mm.
because I don't want to do anything to anyone that will besmirch my name.
Yeah.
I just don't want that.
Yes, I mean, we do a lot of background work. For example, we had an opportunity which was off market just before Christmas, and this is quite a good example of how much work that we put into it. So when we went to see this opportunity, we found that there was a lot of regeneration. It was within a town centre, in the southeast, and there was a lot of regeneration work going on behind it, which was the council were building a new cinema and bowling alley. The sort of traditional um, development that a lot of town centres do. And it meant that at the back of this property, there was some access issues. Anyway, we waited for the information to come from the council to say that yes, there was going to be access. There was going to be it wasn't going to be parking, but there was going to be, turning spaces and so on and so forth. But that made us then realise that, okay, how are you actually going to get all your supplies into this development? Where are you going to put your skips? How are you going to get everything out of this property? Because all that is going to cost you extra money. If you're going to start having to crane things in, that's going to cost you more money. If you're going to have permits to put skips outside and so on, that's all going to cost you more money. So we started sort of adding up all these potential difficulties, which started to push this opportunity out of where it needed to be. And it was so interesting how the guy that I was, who was trying to sell me this opportunity, did not want to listen to that at all. He didn't want to know about the fine tuning. He didn't want to know. All he kept telling me was how much the potential opportunities, the apartments could sell for. However, I then had to go back to him and say, well, you've got not got enough room for the amount of properties that you want in there, and this. And so we do a lot of the fine detail of how an opportunity is actually going to be funded, and what needs to be funded. And there's not many people out there that go to that sort of extent as we do, because ultimately, if those are the things that we're looking at and we're finding, then we know somebody else has got to look and find those things. And if they don't, then they're having the wool pulled over their eyes. And it's very important that we look at and mitigate any issues that we find. So when we found that there could be an issue, we then are looking at, okay, well, are the council going to grant us access or the ability to be able to leave skips there? You know, what's that going to how are we going to do that? What's that is what is that cost going to be? So we're not looking for reasons why not to do an opportunity. We're looking to mitigate all those reasons and the knock-on effect of what that's going to have on this potential opportunity. So we really do a lot of background work, which most people don't go into. Not, you know, your agents or you know, other people that are call themselves. I don't really like to use the word saucer, but because they're not even looking at the figures often. So I think it's important that when you are working for somebody, that you understand the depth of their knowledge, and what they'll go into and what they'll dig up for you, because that's very important, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, absolutely, and that is why, one of the services that I offer is Deal Analyzer,
Mm-hmm.
because people are sometimes just sold a dummy,
Mm,
and
absolutely.
because they don't have enough experience themselves,
Mm.
they can't see beyond the sales patter that is being directed at them, and they just need somebody like you, Julia, who's going to look at the thing and break it down and say, do you know what, if Armageddon were to happen, where would you be? None of us predicted coronavirus,
No.
and thank goodness we are still standing,
Mm,
but anything can happen.
mm,
And we all just need to be prepared for the worst. The worst is probably not really going to happen, but what if it does?
mm.
What if it does? Who could have predicted that we'd spend most of the year in lockdown last year? Nobody.
Not in not in a million years. I mean, we were just
No.
saying this morning how did we ever think that we would be doing lateral flow tests every time that we went out, or every time, you know, my daughter has had a bit of a cold this morning. I said, right, quick, take a test. Can't go out. Let's you taking your test. You know, when did we ever think that we'd be sort of living in that in this environment? It is very unusual position to be in, really. And we have to take that on board, and it's affected all of us in so many different ways. um, but ultimately, you know, I see my role. I'm sort of the fiduciary of somebody else's money. I have to take that very seriously, and I couldn't utilize somebody's funds if I didn't feel confident, or that if it was my money, I would be putting it in. I just couldn't do that. And, you know, we've turned people away in the past because we haven't felt confident that maybe they would match us as an investment partner. You know, I think again, you've got to look at who you're working for, working alongside as well, not just feel that you've got to take somebody's cash and quickly, you know, put it into something. You've got to feel that you can work with that person, don't you? You know, just like when
Oh,
you're mentoring, you've got to feel that you can work and you're on the same page as that person.
definitely. Absolutely, definitely. Do you know what? We are just so alike, because
Mm,
the number of people who come to me as well, and they say, well, I've got this and I want to invest it. And sometimes the way that somebody communicates with you tells you that if you go into a relationship with them, I tend not to go into money relationships anyway with people that I don't know. But even if I were going to, I would just know that that person was just going to be a nightmare, a complete nightmare, because they're coming from a position of ignorance for starters, and they're not, and they have very, very firm views as to what they are doing and what they want to do. And you've not even said yes to them. And they're trying. It is really strange, the world in which we live.
Well, they do presume, because generally somebody that has finance puts themselves in the higher position of strength. I just think it's a natural thing. But for me, actually, I like to get to know somebody. I like to feel that our energies are in alignment, that we've got the same outlook. And for me, it's very important that actually we talk about what happens if, right at the beginning, to get an understanding of how somebody would deal with difficulties as they arise. Are they going to be finger pointing, blaming, or are they going to be solution driven? Because ultimately, for me, it's not about pointing fingers, it's about finding the best solution to mitigate any issues that come our way, because there are going to be issues. And you hear time and time again how developers fall off the face of the earth, they go silent, no communications coming, and people get nervous and concerned. And I think it's communication is just absolutely key, and it's something that I try to pride myself on, is good communication. Don't always get it right all the time, but I hope to try to always communicate very well with people, and I think that's again very important. So if those boxes are ticked for me, then I can then look at potentially working with those people. But actually, they're more important to me than how much money somebody has.
Exactly. Do you know, when I'm working in a JV with someone, most of the emails they're going to get from me will just have a subject box line saying nothing to report, and I don't put anything in the body, and I send it, and I just say to them, just so that you know that things are just going as we last discussed. Nothing has changed, or there's nothing new to report. And I think it just reassures somebody that their money is not. I don't know how they think, but like you say, we need to put ourselves in, the financier's shoes
Mm-hmm.
and say, how would I feel if I were in their shoes? Maybe I wouldn't be too worried if I knew that, the developer, but you just don't know. So I think it's always good. So if somebody's listening to this and they are a developer and you are JVing with somebody or doing some work for someone, even if you've got nothing to report, just let them know that.
Yeah.
Let them know that you're thinking about them.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's, for me, I've sort of moved away a little bit more from emails or short emails. So I'll use WhatsApp, just to give them a quick update of, like you say, nothing to report. We've been working on X, Y, and Z. Seen this, seen that. Come back to you with further details once we've looked into it more, just so they know that they're in your mind. And that communication, it doesn't have to take an awful lot for somebody to feel that they're being thought about, and that's important. They're in the loop, and that's where they need to be. It's important.
Great stuff. So Julia, you also have a kind of like sourcing arm, don't you, where
Yeah,
people can
yeah.
sign up if they're interested in
Mhm.
commercial to resi opportunities. Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, yeah. So again, this is not mass market. So we work with handfuls of people, but we work with people that are very active, that are looking to make purchases, that are maybe not complete newbies, because the amount of work that we put into finding opportunities is quite substantial, and all that, the background work. So when we find something and we find an opportunity for somebody, we know that it's got legs, as it were. So we're not just finding an opportunity like an agent does and just trying to sell it on. We find something, we do all the DD on it, we make sure that there's definitely an opportunity there. And because we do all that work, we charge a 995 plus VAT fee to join us. Because not that actually is a money maker for us in any way at all. It's a commitment fee. So we feel if somebody's prepared to put their money down, then we know that they're committed to working with us, and we're committed to putting that work in. So it's important to us that we work with people that are seriously active investors and developers who are wanting to move their journey forward, which is why we're here to help.
Definitely, because that is because it is unfortunate, but it is a fact as well that there are so many people who would waste your time if you let them.
Yes, there's lots of people that do a lot of wasting our time. There's a lot of people that want information, they want this, that, and the other, but actually, when it comes down to it, they're not comfortable to step forward. So, because of the amount of work we do, we've tried to sort of mitigate us putting a lot of work in, and then that person not feeling comfortable. And we have even given people their money back when we don't feel that actually they're ready to work. We've given them their money back, because again, we don't want to hold on to somebody's money if they're not ready to work, they're not ready to go. Because again, that reflects on us, because if they're not ready, they're looking for a reason why they're not ready, and maybe they can't see it's them that's the reason, so they're always going to put it out to somebody else that is the reason. So again, our reputation is very, very, very important to us, because as you know, in this industry, there's a lot of people that do a lot of things, or say they do a lot of things, and they don't do them. So it's important for us that we are actually seen to do what it says on the tin, and we do only want to work with those people that are very actively engaging and ready to take those steps forward.
Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Do you know, Julia, thank you so much. So, for people listening to this first guest series of 2022, we are in January. Today is the 5th of January, and my guest today has been Julia Hart. And like Julia said in the beginning, this is all about us learning and never ever stopping about how we can educate ourselves, how we can expand our knowledge. And I've learned a couple of things from Julia today. So, I hope that if you're listening, that you have too. But more importantly, for people in the commercial arena, if you need someone to help you, reach out to Julia.
Mm,
Tap on
do.
her face, scroll down her bio, link up with her on Instagram, sightlineproperties.com. Reach out and talk to her. Listen to this podcast. I've spelt out her domain name in here. So again, you can get to her. But honestly, people, if you don't have the experience, find someone who does to
Mm,
walk you through that first journey, because it can be quite scary and it can be quite lonely. But if you have somebody with you who knows what they're doing, you're literally mitigating those particular risks. And what to me is more important than money is my good mental health.
yeah.
So if you can do anything that's going to give you, a calm feeling, confidence, and knowledge at the same time, why would you not go for it? Anyway, if you're into commercial to resi, or if you're into the commercial arena, do link up with Julia. Do definitely do that. And so what I would like to do is, just to again let people know the replays are on. You can definitely kind of tap on this, and you will be able to find this replay under Julia's profile on Clubhouse, under my profile on Clubhouse, and under it should be there. Is it not there? Ooh, no, I've not put it under the club this time around. That was my mistake. Or I was going to say under maximising property pound, but it looks as if I didn't do that. It doesn't matter anyway, because you can find it under my profile, under Julia's profile. And the podcast, so what we've been talking about, is going to be released on Wednesday. So Wednesday, the 12th of January, this what we're talking about here will be on all the podcast platforms. So again, you can tap on the link above, and if your favorite listening device, whatever app, that's it, app, if your favorite listening device is there, then tap on it and subscribe to Maximising Property Values, because then you will not miss a single episode. Julia, thank you so much for doing this with me.
No, you're welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. My first Clubhouse of the year. So we'll be back. We're always here Tuesday mornings for the commercial UK Property Club. So anybody wanting to learn a little bit more about commercial, we're there, and we have a live event as well, which we started at the end of last year, and we've got the next one, which is the first week of February, with my dear friend Ronak, who's in the audience today. So get in touch if anybody's interested in coming to join us. Thank you so much, Patricia.
Wow. But you know what? That just sounds absolutely fascinating. I don't know why people wouldn't just do it. Absolutely do it. Because we're all in property. Maybe we love doing what we're doing, which we do, but more importantly, we want to make money. And if we're not making money and we're literally just sitting back and we're talking or we're listening and we're not taking the steps that we need to take in order to make money, we are wasting time.
Agreed.
We are literally wasting time. One of my favourite films ever is The Shawshank Redemption. And one of the things they say in there, which I love, is you can get busy living or get busy dying. And for property,
True.
you can get busy talking, you can get busy listening, or you can get busy making money. Just do it. Take action. Get started, get going, finish, make money. Anyway, next week I've got Isaac Kikabi. Now, he will be here on Wednesday if his baby stays according to plan and doesn't arrive early. And anyone who's had children know that they do not listen to that. They come when they want to. So he may or may not be here, but if he isn't, there will be something else, which will be just as exciting and just as informative. But in the meantime, honestly, people, if you're enjoying these, subscribe to the podcast and, rate and review, whatever episode you might actually enjoy. And even if you're not enjoying it, do let me know, because if I don't get the feedback, I can't make things better. I can't. And as much as I enjoy doing these, and I will do them if I enjoy doing them, which I am, I also want you to enjoy listening to them. So there we are. And on that note, all that is left for me to say is thank you for spending your afternoon here with us.
Oh, thank you. Lovely to see you all. And let's hope that we can all catch up soon. Thank you.
Definitely.